This week, we highlight 5 stars doing good for the world. All-time NFL running back who played 12 years for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons, now an owner of the Atlanta Falcons. 5-star human being, Warrick Dunn.
This episode of One Star Recruits is brought to you by 500 Level. It's 500level.com for all the hottest t-shirts in the game. One of the anchors of that 2002 Buccaneers championship team, Warren Sapp. He has shirts on 500level.com. Get 20% off with the discount code PODCAST. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White, Baker Mayfield, any of the current Buccaneers, 20% off everything on the site. Discount code PODCAST, 500level.com. Let's go.
How you doing? This is Warrick Dunn. I'm on with the 1-star recruits. They're actually 5 stars, but hey, go Noles, go Falcons, go Bucks. Appreciate everybody.
Yo, aloha. Welcome to the 1-Star Recruits podcast. Like I said, we're going to be talking good for the world with Warrick Dunn here. 2004 Man of the Year in the NFL. 2024 Man of the Year, 1-Star Man of the Year. By joining us, I want to start the entire podcast. We're going to do a Keeping Them Honest. Stole this from our guys at the Shooting 2 podcast. They do a nice Keeping It Honest at the beginning of a lot of their shows because they make a lot of predictions that are misses. I make a lot of predictions that I'm about a 50% shooter if I look at my stats over the career. So about even. But I was 100% incorrect. Completely 1-star Super Bowl picks when I chose the Ravens to be taking on the Lions. I went with a bigger theory than football. It's bigger than football theory. Sometimes this happens to me. Sometimes this happens in my fantasy football drafts. It becomes bigger than football, and I like to go that way. Very 1-star pick by me. So there you go. Just like our friends at Shooting 2, like I said, I was completely wrong. The story did not play out the way that I saw it. And that happens sometimes. The NFL got exactly what they wanted. Maybe too many going for it on 4th downs. Vince Tobin, I'll tell you, Vince Tobin would have never gone for it on 4th down. He never did once in his Arizona Cardinals coaching career. I can tell you that much.
Old school mentality, man. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, just happy to see 2 close-ish games on Sunday. And just like I said, I give myself a pat on the back, DK. It's an all-red Super Bowl. I don't know how in God's name you could bet against Taylor Swift at this point. Are you picking the Chiefs for the Super Bowl? I guess we'll talk about that next week.
We'll talk more about the Super Bowl coming up. And it's obviously not Taylor Swift playing on the field. It's the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, I think the GOAT. I think he's moving in that direction. The best defensives in the league can't stop this guy. And he continues winning at this rate. I know Tom has 6 rings. So just throwing that.
7, right?
7, that's right.
Don't forget the one, the Buccaneers.
That's right. I forgot the Buccaneers. Look at that already on a Buccaneers podcast like a dum-dum. But Patty's coming. You know, maybe this man can't be stopped. He doesn't seem to care. He has probably the thinnest mustache that I've ever seen. I want to actually, for the second part of this podcast too, Rip, I did learn that nose hairs are actually healthy. I want to save that maybe for a 1-star moments thing. But I was really in awe of the way that he keeps his mustache so trimmed, that real thin to win. So he's got that going for him. GOAT and good mustache. But from a negative to positive, overall, Super Bowl set. And it's set in Las Vegas. We're both fans of the state of Nevada. You like Laughlin a little bit more. I happen to like Lake Tahoe. But meeting in the middle is Vegas. We got the 49ers and the Chiefs. Brock Purdy apparently is that guy. He silenced his critics a little bit, Rip. His parents own a furniture store in the city that you used to pick up some of your girlfriends to go to lunch at in the beautiful East Valley of Phoenix. Just a normal dude. And here he is now earning the right. He's earned the right to be called a starter. No more questions. We're going to keep questioning Lamar. You got to win the playoffs. Brock Purdy has officially done it. So congratulations. And then the people's champs, Mahomes. So it's all coming up. Lots of stuff coming up in the Super Bowl. I'm going on. I want to talk about Vegas, though, really, Rip. It's kind of a fun story.
It's a really fun story. And the first thing I think about when I think of Vegas right now is actually the Oakland A's, because they're ripped to the Tropicana. They're shutting down the Tropicana this year, DK, and the A's Stadium's going in right close to the MGM right there and the T-Mobile Arena. But yeah, Super Bowl at Allegiant Stadium. How about the 49ers versus the Chiefs on the Raiders field? It's incredible. It's an incredible story.
Sucks so much for Raiders fans. And sorry for the Tropicana. It's on Rip's value list there. Is Tropicana. You've probably
It's on the bed bugs list and also the value list. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Luxor. I know the Luxor. O'Shea's won your heart when they opened the subway right by the casino. Was a complete when your heart was given. But Tropicana, man, good value by Rip. You might have won some money on a Diamond Sevens machine there one time, $50.
Yeah, and I think the OG spot for swim up blackjack in the hotel pool. You swim up and get a drink, and also can play some blackjack in the 110-degree Vegas heat. There's no better time.
Chlorine full of other just big greasy humans sweating out liquor, playing blackjack. Las Vegas, the city of dreams. It is rare for the NFL to do it. I mean, the last big city like Vegas that has a vibe was New York. I think that was 10 years ago. Which is wild. Time goes quick, but Las Vegas really has become this entertainment capital and sports capital. And this is another prime example. Rip mentioned the A's. So we got the A's there. We got the Raiders return to Las Vegas. Formula One had their big event. I think this was the big comp sense, Super Bowl versus Formula One. And it looks like Super Bowl is dominating as far as the early analytics are and just for the vibe of the city. Such a Vegas-friendly event, the Super Bowl. And then you can mix in Final Fours and the NBA taking advantage of these programs. It's the combination of gambling, new buildings. The only thing that we know for sure in live TV anymore that is real is sports. We question that sometimes. Everybody thinks there's a storyline. Remember the logo dropping a little bit last week? Everybody thinks it's already written, but it's the only reality TV that actually still is reality TV that is unscripted, that we don't know what's going on. So that's why we love it. And in Vegas, you can bet on it and everything. It's all coming together for the beautiful strip. Take a guess, Rip, at the RevPAR. You know what RevPAR means in the hotel business? How about we'll start at an easier one. Take a guess at the average daily rate, ADR. That's what they call it.
365 days a year, any given day, average in Vegas?
Nope. Looking at the Super Bowl weekend, my friend. Looking at the current occupancy as we sit this morning and the average daily rate for all of the Las Vegas hotels combined.
Well, as we talk about it as older guys, DK, in our 40s on this pod, everything's gone up in recent years. A couple years ago, my answer would have been about half this, but I'm going to say it's about $539 during Super Bowl weekend. $539 average daily rate for a room.
Good guess. That Friday through Sunday night occupancy is already at 88%, so there's very limited. That's when they start squeezing price, once they kind of hit that nice little threshold of 80-90% occupancy, and it's at $573, Rip, as we speak. So that's just average. The expensive ones tickets are going crazy. This is always the beginning of the Super Bowl. Then things seem to shrink a little bit. The question is, though, will they not shrink because it's Vegas, because there's continued housing. There's continued opportunities to spend money elsewhere. The teams aren't even staying close to the strip. The teams are staying 25 miles away. AFC team is at the Westin in Lake Las Vegas, which I've never even heard of. The NFC team will be at the Hilton, Lake Las Vegas. So Lake Las Vegas, I guess, hot spot for maybe Vegas travel we didn't know about. This is just a lake that the Hilton's created, huh?
It's probably smart just to keep those guys away from all the distractions that come with the strip and downtown and all the, you don't want another Eugene Robinson from the Falcons happening. Obviously, that's always one of the things you want to stop every year. But hey, there's distractions all over Vegas, even out by that Lake Las Vegas.
I got to check it out. Always Vegas. Every time I go to Vegas, there's 6 new cities that have sprung out. Apparently, they're doing the lake thing. Not worried about water at all in the desert. Still out there. But it should be cool. 25 miles away. They got to come in and do media and go back, and you can put the family there. Makes sense. Makes sense, Rip. How about this? My last theory here. Recently, there's been a lot of coaching success in the NFL from Dan Campbell. We got Kevin O'Connell, DeMarco Ryans, Antonio Pierce. All, what do they have in common, Rip? All players turn coaches. It's a growing trend. I kind of believe in it. I think you have to watch into this Mike McDaniel stuff and some of these other guys who are not former players and come from the coaching tree. It's harder. You really have to earn the right a little bit more than a former coach, than a former player. It's like podcasting. It's easier. It's a little bit easier because you already have the respect for coming on to a former athlete's pod. Anyway, nevertheless, here's my idea. This could be dumb. Sometimes I do this. Could be dumb idea. But I got a former Cardinal, former Raven, Jaguar, and Falcon that could be the next player success story. Falcon fans know him well. Rip, I wouldn't mind this guy coaching the D line next year just to get his beak wet in Tempe this offseason. Calais Campbell, I'm calling you out, man. If you're not going to play, let's get this coaching thing going. I think you have it written all over the way that you represent, the way that you take over the leadership of a locker room. Rip, what do you think of that theory? He said it at first, one-star recruits.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he's one of the legendary voices up there with Dikembe Mutombo, up in the legendary voices of sports. That big, deep, rumbly voice, 6'8", imposing frame. I think he would definitely have people listening to him, and a heck of a resume as a player. So yeah, he'd get a lot of respect as a coach, I think.
Apparently a really good X's and O's guys too, Calais Campbell. So there you go. Forward this on over to our guy Calais. Let him think about coming back to Arizona. Calais Campbell, realtor, Dave White in the state of Arizona. Go ahead and shoot him a note. Calais, he can help you get reset up with a house back here. Coach the D line. See if you like it. See if you like it in Arizona. Could be a future head coach here. From one Man of the Year winner in Calais Campbell to another one. Enjoy this interview with Warrick Dunn.
Now joining the One Star Recruits podcast, we have a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a 12-year NFL running back, the founder of Warrick Dunn Charities, the 2004 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner. Warrick Dunn is on with the One Star Recruits. Thanks for hanging out with the One Stars, Warrick.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are more than 1 star. So.
we're trying to work our way up that ladder there, but hey, one thing we do have in common, you're kind of in the same boat as DK and I. We're all in our 40s. The two of us, DK and I, had a conversation last week about how much things have kind of gone up in price over just the past like 5 to 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a moment where we kind of had to look at ourselves in the mirror and ask if we're those old people now that we always thought about complaining about how things used to be. So like I said, you're in the same boat age-wise. And so be honest here. Is there something that you catch yourself thinking about that you feel like has just become super expensive lately?
Well, to be real, everything is expensive to me. I mean, they say I'm tight with money, that I don't ever want to spend anything. And I actually had a brother, my brother on my dad's side. He took his kid to Walt Disney World.
Ooh.
And, Disney is expensive. I mean, I'm just like, I can't do that right now. I got to wait till the prices goes down. Yeah, but everything, housing, food, everything is expensive. I mean, when I think this whole supply and demand thing, I just think, they just continue to add more to that when they know that, there's definitely a need. So it's tough. It's tough for, a lot of Americans. I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be able to go out and be able to do those things, but just let everybody know, I still don't do it. I'm not going to waste money, spend money. I mean, I would rather, try to help, someone or a family member or something get back on their feet. So I'm not gonna spend wastelessly.
Yeah, me neither. And a lot of Americans' families now, I want to transition into housing here. And in particular, housing equity and generational poverty are two of the main focuses of the Warrick Dunn Charities.
Yeah.
When you're looking at real estate for yourself, Warrick, what are some guiding principles? What would be the top 3 principles in the Warrick Dunn real estate playbook to look for? For me, the listeners know I live in Hawaii. The weather's pretty high up for me as a must-have. What are some things that you look for in just some principles in looking at real estate, maybe single-family homes?
Well, I know I do some work in that area, and like one of the main things I look at too is the area that you're living in. For me, I think it's important that we actually grew up in diverse areas, not just all Black, all white, but mixed economic areas. So I think we learn a lot from each other, and just being around individuals that may be affluent or maybe struggling. We come together as a community. I think today we don't grow up as we walk outside, we know our neighbors. that just doesn't happen anymore. We're like so isolated. So for me, I think it's important that we, I find a location or try to help families get in areas that have a more of a community feel, that they care about each other. And I think when it comes to housing, really, it comes down to budgeting, right? It comes down to managing, what are your needs and wants, and if you can, manage the reality, I think that helps. But it's also, when it comes to housing, we always talk about generational wealth. The thing is, it takes generations to actually build up that generational wealth when it comes to housing. People think it just happens overnight. No, you actually have to take the first step. The kids have to hopefully follow the examples, those steps that you take to put themselves in position when they get a lot older to become homeowners. So it's you know, I just really believe in helping individuals. Like I built homes, and we 1,900 square foot homes. We built it for 175 and sold it for 250,000. Right. So for me, it's not about trying to overcharge someone. Yeah, I want to make money so that I'm able to reinvest that money into another home. But at the same time, I need to help people create that stability so that we can go now solve society problems, because stable housing solves a lot of those problems.
It's the most amazing foundation. I think it's a conversation that we have a lot of times with our family and friends where there's not a lot of great answers. And we're so grateful to have you actually doing a lot of the work in the community, setting the example for sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. More times than not, it's working for you.
Yeah.
But we really love just kind of seeing it and learning it together. I think you're right. Housing is a core part that starts the beginning of the snowball effect to kind of society being a little bit better. And it's something that we're looking for. Rip mentioned the price of shopping, the price of housing. It's very difficult now. Are there markets in particular, say maybe a single family looking to get involved into a certain market? Is there an area that you say would be a good starter market? Maybe is start in the South, or start in an apartment, or go right for a house. Is there a starting point that you recommend for people?
Well, I can tell you housing is a lot cheaper, a la in Louisiana and so forth. I've learned that. But when it comes to housing, when someone has to go through a process of becoming a homeowner, it's like, are you ready? Are you in a position to do that? So I believe in purchasing and buying, but at the same time, not everyone who comes into the housing space is in a position to purchase. So they may have to rent. And now that's just an opportunity to really work on the budgeting part, the credit part and all those things, home ownership classes to really understand, because we own homes, and we know that once you move into a home, that's when the journey really begins, right? We have a lot of things that we have to do. And, it takes, like I said, it takes discipline. It takes having support on the outside, so that we try to help individuals. Like everyone knows I have Warrick Dunn charities, but now I have an entity called WD Communities, where we build housing to help individuals. And I want to try to also make sure that these individuals know that the opportunity for them is that you have to do your part. You do your part in managing, budgeting, making the sacrifices to put yourself in a position to become a homeowner. Then it's a process to get there. So I just think, over the course of time, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time to get to the destination they need to be to become a homeowner. And, I just think we all have an opportunity, but we all have to help each other. I can't do it alone. We got to have partnerships and those things across the country in order to be able to help people.
Homes for the Holidays, a great example. You provide over $1 million in down payment assistance. A lot of the recipients actually are putting in volunteer work, and it goes back to what you said, kind of the process, and it's a bigger picture thing than just getting a house. Here's a house. There's a lot to it. Can you explain the process a little bit? Maybe Homes for the Holidays. It's really so amazing.
Well, Homes for Holidays was born out of my mom. She was a Baton Rouge City police officer that was shot and killed in line of duty. And her dream growing up, being the oldest of six, she wanted her own home, never having that opportunity. So for me, just going out and living through her experiences, that we couldn't save up for a down payment, but we couldn't fully furnish a home. So I started this program, Homes for the Holidays, to help individuals that, are single parents, but we would give them $5,000 payment assistance and fully furnish their homes, put food, furniture, linens, garden tools, TVs, computers, all the way down to the toothbrush. Pretty much you just have to just bring your clothes. And doing that, for me, we've been able to help 221 single parent families, now celebrating 26 years of the Homes for Holidays program. It's been rewarding, and I'm so thankful because I've had opportunity to meet a lot of different individuals, and it's not just whites or blacks or Mexicans. I mean, we have a variety of recipients from all across the world that live in the United States that are seeking stability for them and especially now the kids. But we also have support service and programs where Count on Your Future financial literacy program, where we try to help families invest in themselves by starting a savings account. We would match them up to $500 if they start a savings account. And we also have Scope. It's a healthy food initiative that we're trying to make sure families have access to doctors, getting blood tests, sugar, working out, eating healthy, growing their vegetables in their backyard. So we've become much more holistic. And now I also have a mental health program called Betty's Hope, named after my mom, where we also know that people in the underserved communities don't have access to therapists. So wrapping all of these services to really help create that stability, it is a process. A lot of times we partner with Habitat for Humanity, and they go and build the home. The family has to go and volunteer and work on the home through that process. And we come in, we give a big surprise. Or we may partner with a housing authority, the local city, to where they have a program that individuals can come in, and we go and we help those individuals. They may not work on their homes on the weekend, but they get to the point where now we want to make sure that they have everything they need to be sustainable. Meaning, like I said, those financial literacy classes, we give all of our families opportunity to participate, to create more stability, and to support them throughout their journey. So it's not an overnight success. Most people think you just walk up and here you go. No, it is. Sometimes it takes a year, but you have to start somewhere, and it is a process because we don't know. Your credit may be, good, bad. We have to work on improving that, getting things, cleaning up the financials and those things. So it is a process, and I think people need to understand that you got to make the first step in order to take the second step, third step, to be able to get down the road to where you need to be to become a homeowner.
And we got to have a fearless leader, somebody who's taking the reins. 221 families, 26 years. It's amazing. You
Yes,
look
sir.
healthy still, my man. We talked about being in our 40s.
Yeah.
What's your exercise routine look like? You still get to the gym?
Well, I couldn't go to the gym today. Well, I did go to the gym. I had to leave. Traffic was really bad, but I try to go 3, 4 times a week. If not, I'm at home gym, you do those things, but I try to always work out and eat healthy. Most importantly, you want to work out. I believe doing things like I did when I played. I'm doing working out like that a little bit, but most importantly, I try to eat healthy 80% of the time. That 20%, I'm gonna go and eat that fried catfish, that gumbo, etouffee. But other than that, I try to eat a lot of grilled and baked goods, a lot of vegetables throughout the week. So, like I said, 80% of the time, eat healthy. That 20%, I go hard in the paint.
That's the beautiful thing. Can we catch you in the kitchen? Can we maybe catch a restaurant concept in the future? Healthy restaurant with Warrick Dunn.
Well, they do call me Chef Boy or Homeboy. So
Oh,
I do like to cook. I learned a lot from my grandmother. So
nice.
she's still on this earth, 86 years old. Still, like I tell people, she loves bingo. So if you guys want to go ahead and chip some money in for some bingo, she'll love that. But she loves bingo, but she taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from her. So yeah, I like to cook. in a
Yeah, you like
sense.
to mix it up. You like to mix it up. I mean, I'm so inspired by your story, and a lot of people will come on and think we would talk football, and I'm
Yeah.
so inspired by your 26 years we talked about, and a lot of athletes and foundations will start, and then it seems like after maybe their career ends or it gets slow, it gets dormant.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the lesson that you've learned about longevity in this space, different than football, and being successful of actually growing a foundation when it has been a little bit harder for others?
Well, I can tell you when I retired from the National Football League, I decided to go back to business school, and I went and got my master's at Emory University in Atlanta and got my master's in business. So I wanted to understand the full ecosystem of for-profit, nonprofit, and realizing that if you have a board that you hold accountable, that supports you, that believes in the mission, and that's passionate about it, that can help you be sustainable. But I think just having the people in place, having a board that is resourceful, and I know that have, myself being able to continue to, keep the passion behind it. I tell people, I mean, I've been doing this, like I say, for 26 years. I still have the passion. Why? Because when I'm helping a single parent family, and of the 221, we've helped 6 single fathers, but I'm able to relive those moments through those recipients. My mom, how she would have felt. And it does get tough sometimes because I can't give my mom what, I'm helping other individuals, but I can live out her dream through them. And that's been, for me, that's been the rewarding part. So I'm so thankful. And I didn't mention this, that we're in 16 states, 30 markets, 30 cities. So we really been able to expand, and we have bigger plans to expand and really grow programming and help more people.
You're really doing it. Thank you. Thank you for taking a different direction post football career and looking at. I see what's happening in San Francisco and Philadelphia. Sometimes when you see what's happening on the streets, and
Yeah.
I do believe, just like you, I think one, we're on the same page. A lot of it begins with housing, and it's a problem that you're attacking, and I think the rest of us should be a little bit more aware of it, of ways that we can actually help. And your foundation, Habitat for Humanity, are there any ones that stand out for you if listeners wanted to hop on in their community and maybe help out a little bit?
Well, I can say, like I said, Habitat, we've been a partner with them for a long time. So whatever area they can look for a local habitat there, and if they're looking for housing, try to see, how they can enroll themselves and put themselves in position to become a homeowner. I know sometimes the local government housing authority have programs that help family in housing. So you can look up the local municipality to see what's available for them. And not everyone is going to be in a position. So they have to put themselves in, figure out a way, how do we get ourselves in a position to become a homeowner? So that's just a process, but it's about managing, right? We all have to manage our expectations a lot of times in life, but also think too, we have to be really intentional when it comes to needs versus wants, right? Do you really need, fancy stuff, expensive car? No, I mean, you can drive around, get regular gas, get to point A to point B. It's going to do the same thing, it's different when you have the means, compared to when you're struggling and you're trying to figure out a way how I can save for every penny. If a family who's in an underserved community driving a BMW, Mercedes, do we really understand what the maintenance is on that type of car? The oil changes, I mean, trust me, I know, right? The oil change is
Mm-hmm.
crazy expensive. And, you can't take it to just a shop on the corner. It has to go to a specialist, right? Those things. So those foreign cars, but driving around in a Honda, Ford, I mean, you just want to get where you got to get to. That's the depreciation asset anyway. When you really understand financials, do you really want to invest in those things? Housing is the most important thing you should invest in. That helps create some stability, but also now you're starting the process of working on generational wealth. And when your kids get older, you want them to understand, like, my Mom, my dad went through this process. I need to do this for myself to create that stability because your kids, they're much more confident. They do better in school. They're much more involved in their community. They want to, see people be better. So let's create that environment for all of our kids to grow up in stable housing. And that helps with a lot of problems that we do have in this country.
It's that financial literacy you talked about, and once you have that knowledge, that also passes down to the next generation. So super important stuff you guys are doing down there. Warrick, we close every interview with a segment we call 1 star to 5 star, where everybody knows we're the 1 stars, where we're trying to have 5 stars like you on this podcast. So to get a little advice and tips about life and everything. So I'm going to close it out with a few questions that run the gamut on a 1 to 5 star scale. And we talked a lot about housing and your charities. And I have a few football questions for you. Starting off here, your first head coach when you entered the NFL in 1997 was Tony Dungy. He seems like the perfect coach for a younger kid who wants to make a difference in the world. And I've heard so many stories about the good that Tony has put into the world. What's your, let's call it a 5 star story about something Coach Dungy did to affect your life?
Well, I think he impacted me from day one. When he drafted me, he gave me an opportunity. I was only 5'8", 170 pounds. Can I run between the tackles? Can I play every down? And I just said, Coach, do you like touchdowns? I mean, that's what it's about. And he gave me a shot because he liked my confidence. But most importantly is when I got there, he sat all of us down in the room and he challenged us. This can't just be about football. You need to care about your community and give back. And I took that challenge, and he inspired me. There's someone who supported me. They're like, a lot of people don't know this, is that my second year in Tampa, my 3 youngest brothers and sister came to live with me. So I had to put them in high school. I was going to PTA meetings, doing all these things. And I had to have Coach Dungy's wife come and help me. I had no idea. So I'm learning to, like going to the PTA meetings, the right questions to ask, those things. But, I understood how to parent because I've been doing it a long time, but they were there for me in my time of need. And that teaches you that people actually care. They're not just focused on W's, and we wanted to win games, but most importantly, he cared about his players. If you think about it, he's had guys who have impacted the community overall who play for the Buccaneers that he's coached over the years. So he was God sent for me. I'm just thankful that he was a part of my journey, in the National Football League, just in my life, because at certain times I needed people. And when I go from losing my mom at 18 years old, 4 years later, I'm in Tampa, I'm still going through a lot personally. He was there for me. He supported me, and I'm thankful for that.
It's amazing how sometimes you just land in the right place, and you could have landed with any other coach, but landing with him, it just seems like the perfect fit. I'm gonna get a little interactive here. Our favorite player in the NFL is Rachaad White. I don't know if you can see our shirts here. He's been on the podcast 2 times. This is
Gotcha.
this is
Yep.
DK and I out in Hawaii with
Yeah.
with our Rachaad shirts on here. Like I said, he's been on this podcast twice. We love his game. He's got a lot of the same skill set that you had with both running and receiving with down
Okay.
there in Tampa.
Yep.
On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, how much does Rashaad's game remind you of your own? Like 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. I know he's a little bigger, but when you see some of
Yeah.
what he does down there with the Bucks, how much does it remind you of yourself?
Well, it's certain things. Just because the game is so different today than when I played, they're more outside. I wish I was playing in this era because they don't tackle, in my opinion. But I like the fact that, he's been consistent, a hard runner. Like you said, he's bigger than me, so he runs a little bit more downhill, and he's much more physical. I didn't want to get touched. I didn't want no one to touch me, so forth. But I do like his game, and I try to support him. And when I'm watching him run, it's like, did he make the play? And even though I play for the Falcons, pull for them, I pull for the Bucks as well, and I pull for them the first home game, playoff game, and unfortunately they lost this past weekend. But I like his game overall. He's the overall good player. Like I said, his advantage over me, he's bigger. He's bigger than me. But, you know, if we were the same age and the same, you know, I would compete against him and show him that I can come for him.
Rip has a theory about running backs and vision. He thinks that we asked Eddie George and he agreed. He thinks that all running backs have an expertise in driving on freeways because they can see moves before they happen. Do you
Right.
think that you are an expert driver and you can see things still happening on the freeway when you're driving with your running
Well,
back skills?
I think it's some validation to that because one, I learned how to drive from my mama who was a police officer. So unfortunately, I've been driving since I was 14 years old. But also I've been, you know, running the football. I'm not looking right in front of me. I'm always downfield.
Yep.
And growing up, I started to learn like I learned the game. We were calling audibles at the line of scrimmage when I was 11, 12 years old. So I started to know where everyone was at. And, you know, you learn about guys' strengths and weaknesses. So for me, I really started to like forward thinking, looking down. So when you're driving a car, I'm not looking at the people right on side of me. I'm already down the road anticipating what's going to happen. So, you know, very attentive on my surroundings.
It makes too much sense to me. The vision that you see that is a combination of being a running back and a good driver. It makes too much sense. I got to close this one out with one for the Knowles fans. Coach Mike Norvell just signed a long-term deal worth like 10 million a year, something crazy. There's another really good recruiting class coming in down there. You played 4 years in Tallahassee. I know you're a diehard. For people who haven't experienced that football culture at Florida State, like we're from Arizona, it can't compare. Can you explain why it's just different there? Those Seminole fans are just so diehard.
It is different. I know a lot of it was definitely because of tradition that was started years ago with Coach Bobby Bowden. And when I went there, you know, they already had, you know, five-star, you know, and so you come in, and it's similar to what Alabama was with Nick Saban. Guys come in and compete. We compete to help each other be better. They know that, hey, if something happens to this guy, if he comes out the game, I knew the guy behind me was going to come in and make plays. So we were always competitive and on the edge that we had to go out and prove. And when you're winning, you know, just the tradition and the history at Florida State with the chop, you know, the chants, you know, Chief Osceola running out on the field. I mean, when you have that type of history, I think it says a lot. And the fan base, I mean, we love to compete and we want to play against the best all the time. We're not hiding from anyone. And I think that because of the tradition and what Coach Norvell is doing now, he's just continuing what Coach Bowden started years ago. And I think he has a great opportunity to really set his footprint there in Tallahassee. And I think if, you know, the NIL stuff and the portal, all that stuff is a little bit more complicated today. But he's a coach who can really talk to kids and get them to understand that you come here, yeah, you're going to make some money, but at the same time, you got to compete. You have to compete to be the best. And he wants his kids to always play at the highest level. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before we're back in the Natty. We're playing for the national championship. So
you heard it here. You heard it from Warrick. Everyone go follow Warrick. It's at Warrick Dunn on both Twitter and Instagram, at WDC Charities for Warrick Dunn Charities. WDC.org is the website if you want to donate or get involved with all the really cool stuff that Warrick is doing. Hey, thanks for being a role model, man. Like DK said, helping so many people out and just, man, being a good human in a world where too often we see the bad ones. So thank you so much, man. And thank you for coming on with the One Star Recruits.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. And you're not 1 star, you're 5 stars. So you're
5 stars.
Special thanks again to Warrick Dunn, legendary Buccaneers and Falcons running back. And yeah, I got to tell you, it's booking these guests is very interesting, and it's a testament to everything Warrick is doing and what he's doing to stay busy and really help improve the world. It took 3 years to book this interview, 3 years of communication and persistence. So that's one thing with Warrick, and it's just really a testament to he's done, I think, more, it's safe to say, outside of football than he did in football, which is a pretty crazy statement. Because DK, let me give you a little trivia question here. Where do you think Warrick actually ranks in running back and career rushing yards in the NFL for running backs? You think he's top 100, top 50, top 25, top 10? Where would you go with that? Real quick quiz.
He had a lot of productive years. I'd say he's in the top 15.
Okay, he's actually number 23, so pretty close prediction there. I was actually shocked by that, just because he's a smaller guy, but he did hang around for 12 years and I think had 5,000-yard seasons. So he ended his career with 10,967 rushing yards, a couple hundred yards behind O.J. Simpson. So yeah, very surprising. Number 23 on the all-time list. So thanks again to Warrick. Great guest.
Wonderful guest. It's a good week when you get an NFL guy, former NFL guy. 3 years. I kind of got stopped in my tracks when you just said that. That's crazy, Rip, that you are corresponding on the chase. That shows listeners and people out there just how unbelievably difficult of a job it is to book guests and stay in contact for 3 years and not give up on it. I would give up on sales calls after 2 emails were not responded to.
It's all about persistence. And actually, let's just move into one-star moments of the week, because my one-star moment of the week has to do with booking guests this week. It's a crazy one. It's a crazy life, and it's something I could probably do 40 hours a week for a full-time job and have all kinds of stories. But we got one this week. There's certain situations you try to get someone's contact info and reach out, but it's not always easy. So we had a case in point this week. My one-star moment of the week. One of the most fierce defensemen and enforcers in the history of the NHL, Chris Pronger, NHL Hall of Famer, Hockey Hall of Famer, trying to find his info, trying to book him for an interview on the pod. Couldn't find anything. He's out there, but no email address, no phone number, anything like that, no reps. But I did find the email address for his wife, who they're in business together. They run a business called Well Inspired Travels. So, hey, DK, sometimes you got to shoot your shot. I emailed Chris Pronger's wife, followed up and didn't hear anything back until earlier this week. One-star moment of the week, I got an email directly from Chris basically saying, please stop emailing my wife. So yeah, it just kind of shook me a little bit. An email from one of the greatest enforcers in the history of the NHL, been in so many fights, would probably pound me into the ground like a nail. So message received, Mr. Pronger, I will stop emailing your wife. And one-star moment of the week right there.
Will Smith moment maybe for you, Rip. Was it did it feel like that? Like, keep the name out of your mouth, out of the emails, and you return. You sometimes you work different angles, because that is actually a very good business. I liked this business idea years ago. I thought that a sports concierge business would be really awesome, because the way that players travel and vacation, professional athletes, is a little bit different. A little bit more planning, some more security, and then easy turnkey stuff that I thought would be a great idea. It's kind of that in a nutshell, that you real specialized family events, small groups, you would say, that it's a high level. So Rip, I think it's creative for you to try this different realm. We have one-stars out there that might want to do a family reunion down in Cabo and in Pedregal on the mountain range. Rip, there's a good possibility.
That's a great idea. Let's actually turn this one-star moment into a 5-star moment. Let's give a free ad to wellinspiredtravels.com, wellinspiredtravels.com, run by the Prongers, and everybody go check it out if you want a luxurious vacation and a lot of concierge service to do it. Free ad, wellinspiredtravels.com. I like it.
Good business. Everybody needs travel help, especially nowadays. Unless Rip's kind of the one psycho that wants to do it all by yourself, because you love booking rental cars and figuring out in between flights. Most people hate it. So there you go.
The case in point, I just spent 3 hours booking a rental car in France. There are probably 1,000 rental car locations in Paris, one of the biggest cities on the planet. I was Google translating all these French addresses into English, mapping them out from my hotel. So yeah, I do like to do it myself, DK.
Holy shit. Are we still talking about this France trip? This is nuts. This is going into year 6 of talking about this France trip.
It's going to happen, God willing.
Oh, sweet Lordy. One-star moment of the week for me. My wife's out of town. She has some stuff for work going on. So I'm in full savage mode, left alone to myself. I had the brilliant idea in my Twitter bio. You can take a look, DNOPS1. It's DKNOPS1. My bio is lover of all things bread. I'm a bread lover. I love bread. I'm just a full on 100% a bread lover. It just is what it is. So I think that, hey, I can do one full loaf of bread this week. As a bread lover, this is what I do. It's been a long time since I got a full loaf just for myself, but it's something that I used to do 10, 15 years ago. Not a good idea. Did a shopping run, made a handful of one-star decision purchases all around my loaf of bread meal. So that consisted of this, Rip, egg salad sandos. I did the Emilio special, which is turkey, pepperoni, no cheese. Grilled cheese, classic, everybody's favorite. French toast, breakfast. Toast with honey, breakfast and snack. PB&J. I really thought I had it put together. After the Emilio special and half of a grilled cheese, I don't fucking want any more bread. And I bought the good sourdough bread that doesn't have all the preservatives in it. Sometimes this bread, the preservative bread, can last for 3 weeks. You start kind of getting a little moldy with the artisanal bread. It's about day 4. So I'm getting there and I'm looking at my 2 final pieces. I'm thinking about throwing them. I just couldn't even. I haven't done the French toast. I haven't even done the PB&J. And so that's where I stand right now. One star more in the week, full loaf of bread. It's out of my control at this point in time, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to tap out on a full loaf for the rest of my life. I think I'm a half loaf guy.
How many hours was that consumed in? And are we talking baguette or sliced bread?
The full loaf of this great sourdough, Lawai Market, right down the street, and you give it. It's a type of place, Rip. It's classy. You give it to them, and you say, "Can you please do a slice?" And I asked for the Texas toast slice, which is a little thicker, thinking that I would. Great bread, still had nice browns up nice. Every time I did make a toast, I took a look. It's a very golden brown and delicious.
So
GB.
we're talking about probably what 18 slices in like 48 hours? Is that a pretty safe
You're
bet?
always a numbers guy. Always a numbers guy, Rip. And you're just booking your car in Pros de Leon, so you're still on your numbers train. More of a 10 slice, probably even cut, maybe 11 with the 2 ends. And I'm not an end guy. The ends are sitting there looking at me with freckles of mold starting to form. So it's going to be a throwaway. But I needed to mix up my meals, man. I need to pre-cook some stuff. I need to mix it up. Once you do the bread lunch, say a sandwich lunch, you automatically throw out the carb dinner. So you can't do a bread lunch onto a pizza or a nice toast onto a sandwich onto another rice dish for dinner or something. It's too many carbs. It's I'm out. I'm out on the full loaves of bread for myself. Small baguettes, the play. You just called in the right play. The Mike McDaniel right there. Small loaf of bread.
I hope you're mixing in a couple of gallons of water in between those meals. Jesus, 1 star, man.
Egg salad sandwiches are terrific. They're great. Actually thought I could have. My big thought was I could eat 2 or 3 egg salad sandwiches, but it was a one and done egg salad sandwich for me. I just didn't want another one after I had the first one. Maybe if I would have started differently. Maybe if I would have started PB&J, toast with honey, grilled cheese, the Emilio special, then the egg salad sandwich. That's complete. Now looking at it, I should have done a reverse eat.
Just mix in some liquids. You don't want another situation where you're clogging up the toilet and flooding the house with shit water again. Come on.
All right. If you're still listening, then you know all of my duties. So while I was in the midst of a sourdough bread Emilio sandwich coma one evening this last week, I decided that nothing would cheer me up more than a little comedy special on Netflix. And I haven't done a comedy special on Netflix in a while. It's one of those things, kind of, I'll do 2 or 3, then I'm off for six months. And I love comedy. I love live comedy. The comedy specials, I got to be in just the right mood. Maybe I have to eat more than 2,200 carbs to feel like it, but I was feeling like it. So I went through a couple. They were watched 5 minutes and moved on. But I landed nice, Rip. Good recommendation this week for a laugh. Shane Gillis. He's got a new special out. It's called Beautiful Dogs. Some good laugh out louds. Really hilarious George Washington bit. It's on Netflix, Rip. If you need a good stand-up special to watch, that's the one. Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis. Can you give me a sample joke to lure me in here? Would flesh out that bit for a sec?
No, I'm not going to do it because does it so well, and it's even he does some riskier spaces that a lot of comics don't go to, and he does it so well. So I can't even give you a taste of that one. He does the best Trump impression that I've ever seen.
That sold me right there. I love a good Trump impression. I'm hooked.
His is good. Laughing really, really hard. Really good stuff. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to throw it way back, and these places are actually still around. But you remember walking through the food court at Fiesta Mall back in 1991? Arizona natives here, one-star recruits. Place called Orange Julius, still in the mall. I think they combined with Dairy Queen a couple years back to avoid going out of business. But I got a homemade recipe for Orange Julius. My wife came up with this the other day on Pinterest or some other wacky social media site. So it's easy. You throw all this in a blender. I'm going to go through it real quick because it's only 4 ingredients. 2 oranges peeled, 1 cup of ice, a 1/4 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon honey, half a teaspoon of vanilla. You want to say it again, DK?
Yep, one more time. This is Orange Julius, and you just made this up. You guys just made this up on the fly. You weren't thinking I'm gonna make the Orange Julius.
I can't remember why she brought it up, but she had just seen something about Orange Julius, and the kids ended up loving it. It tastes exactly like the Orange Julius you get at Fiesta Mall in Mesa, Arizona, which could have been a victim of the wrecking ball. I have no idea, but Orange Julius's are still around. It's 2 oranges peeled. Just throw them in the blender with a cup of ice, a 1/4 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of honey, and a half teaspoon of vanilla. It tastes exactly like an Orange Julius. 5-star recommendation of the week right there.
Delicious, delicious. I love Orange Julius. It's been years, been lots of years. The combo is an Auntie Anne's pretzel and an Orange Julius. A salty with the sweet is the killer combo. If you were having a bad day, you can get a corn dog on the stick too. No lemonade. Corn dog on the stick, just ketchup.
Possibly polish it off with a Cinnabon if you're feeling good.
That's an argument for another day. We'll add that to our Shooting 2 podcast. Maybe you bring Cinnabons to your Super Bowl party. Stay tuned. We're going to do Shooting 2 podcast next week. Super Bowl picks coming up. A couple more guests coming at you as we move into Valentine's Day, the day of love. 5 stars wherever you get your lovely podcasts on Spotify or Apple. Goes a long way. Rips reactions. Hit the music. Brandon Ayuk's ridiculous catch turned the game around this last weekend. What's your most memorable sports play of your entire lifetime? Mine is easy. I'll give you some time to think. I once I dove at shortstop. I was in 4th grade Little League, and I dove at shortstop for a long catch, which was just a piper coming down, about to be a base hit for a run, 2 outs. Runners were running. Tip of my glove, made the grab, got up to one knee, chucked it back to second base. Boom, double play. Didn't even need the second out. But in my head, and just big high fives. Biggest play of my life, 4th grade. That's where it peaked. That's mine.
Don't forget to mention that you're currently wearing a Ryan Sandberg shirt, who was a second baseman, but 500level.com Ryan Sandberg shirt. Amazing story. I wish I had video of that. I'm going to say mine happened actually a few months ago in a church rec basketball game, because a lot of people go through their lives never being able to hit a game-winning shot. But we were in a game of playing to 11, and I hit the shot at the end to win it. I think it was 9-9, and I hit a 2-pointer and won the game for our squad. It was one of like 7 games that night, but it stands out because it was probably the only time I've ever hit a game winner in my life.
You just pulled your pants down and you took a big dookie, a big number 2 on your entire softball career.
I had a couple diving catches, but none to
you had a couple
title.
big home runs. You had a couple big home runs for you won some tournaments out in Thousand Oaks, maybe down in Bakersfield, and went to party at the local Applebee's. Had a hell of a night with your softball team at one point in time. But I always love a rec league final shot. I mean, that's true glory too. What did you take the ball up from the court at point and do a 1-on-1, or did you come off a screen and get a nice pass?
It was taking the ball up. It was being selfish, not passing. But they can't criticize you when you hit the game winner.
Dude, it's everything. You get all the love, all the goodness, man. Rajon Rondo was arrested in our lovely state of Indiana on gun charges. Yeah, a little bit of marijuana. Rajon Rondo, Rip, right now, if he could do a podcast and have just a great host for him, what's the name of the podcast and who's his host?
This is a 1-star idea, but let's say rondo ball instead of round ball. I have no idea. Everyone that talks about him that's played with him says he's one of the smart guys in the history of basketball. Film study, game tape, all that kind of stuff, studying your opponents. So honestly, probably something to have to do with the cerebral part of the game and studying opponents. But I also don't know how well that would sell and how many people would listen to that. But I don't know how good of a podcast host he'd be. I know he's been a guest on some.
Well, he's not as good as the Smart List podcast. He just signed a 3-year, $100 million deal. Rip, I know you're not quite as good as an actor as Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes. I'm maybe your $600,000 still stands here, but hey, we're at $100 million. We'll take some sprinkles. One Star Recruits podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.